Good evening, everyone. It is June 28th, 2026. Today I'm not going to put up another video. I'm going to do some talking myself. And it's about your own personal safety. And it's about something that we've talked about before, about being aware of your surroundings. And this is why I always put it at the end of my video to try and make people be aware that they have to be aware. In today's world, we're living in a world we really need to be aware of our personal safety and what goes on. And what I want to talk about is an incident that happened recently to me. And I think it's a really a good example of what can happen. Fortunately, nothing serious happened in this incident, but there was a person that got very embarrassed by what they were not aware of at the time. So I'm going to start by telling you I was going through the mall. I had to go to the bathroom. No problem. I got to the bathroom. A woman called me over and said, well, there's a woman underneath a stall. You can see her lying there. Now, in my previous videos, I've always talked about how this is another problem that we have with the homeless people, where they go into the stalls, into the public places such as restaurants and that, and they go up and they use in the bathrooms and that. So I thought, oh no, another person who's down. I looked at her and I said, we need to find the security right away so we can deal with this, because she wasn't responding. I would knock, the other lady knocked, and there was just no response whatsoever. So we did not know if she was in distress. All we heard was a few moans and groans from her, so we knew she was alive. So the woman took off one way, I took off the other way. I remember seeing a couple of the security guards from the way I had come in, but I didn't see a female guard at the time. So by the time I caught up with one of the guards. I don't know, I think his partner was busy with someone else trying to deal with that situation there. So my first thought was, having been experienced as a security guard myself, we're dealing with the women's washroom. My first question was to the security guard, is there a female security guard available? Because there's a situation, and I explained it to him in the women's washroom, and he told me, no, I'm sorry, we don't have very many female security guards, and there's not one on tonight. So I explained that I had been a former security guard, and I worked the malls before myself, and I'll go back with him, make sure he's in the right place. And so, of course, as soon as we got there, I knew I was going to have to be the one that was going to have to go in and make sure that the women's washroom was cleared out, even though he asked me to go in and make sure that the washroom was clear so that he could deal with the situation. So when I went in, I got a couple of people out right away, and then I came across another stall where there was someone sitting on the toilet, and I knocked on the door politely and said, we have a medical emergency here. I need you to leave as soon as possible. And there was no answer. And I tried on several occasions and several knocks, and there was still no response from this woman sitting on the toilet. And I'm thinking, oh, don't tell me we've got another person who's injected on the toilet but is slumped over or something, and we've got another person possibly in distress. So I kept knocking, and eventually I got, I'll be out in a minute. And I finally got some response. The male security guard was standing beside me, realizing I was trying to get another woman out before he was able to deal with the other situation of the other woman lying underneath you could see her underneath the stall, lying on the floor. And this was in the handicap stall, so it wasn't the small stall. She was lying full length in the handicap stall. So I finally got the woman's attention, and I think I just wish I had a camera to take a picture of that woman's face when she opened the stall door to see me and the male security guard standing there looking at her. And when she spoke, finally, it was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that there was an emergency. I'm sorry, but I had my headphones on. I didn't hear you banging on the stall door. And so she's just really very, very embarrassed, and she just scoots out right away. But it was a look on her face, and this is what I'm saying. We had an emergency, possibly, and here she is sitting on the toilet. When she came out, she had these great big headphones around her neck by this time, and being caught off guard. And it's so terribly important being definitely being aware of what's going on, and I'm thinking, well, so much for distracted driving here. And there, all the things with your phone and whatever for the distracted driving. And then I'm thinking back, well, this just fits in what I'm talking about on the end of my video about being aware of your surroundings. And fortunately for her, there wasn't a serious situation. It turned out to not to be serious, because when she left, then I went back to the other stall and to make sure everything was okay, because I didn't want to leave this one male guard alone in the washroom trying to deal with the situation without at least a witness or someone knowing what was going on. So he finally got her off the floor. She finally was able to get up, and then first thing she did was she went and sat on the toilet. This woman who had been lying on the floor, and telling us, well, I'm going to the toilet. I'll be out in a minute. And we're asking her, is she all right? But all she's saying is she's going to the toilet. So when she came out of the stall and saw us, the male guard turned around and said, well, we had calls in from people that you were lying on the floor. We just wanted to make sure you were okay. And then the first thing she does, this is whether you're drunk or whether you are taking drugs, denial. She said, oh no, I wasn't on the floor, period. No, I wasn't on the floor. And he said, well, yes, we saw you on the floor. Male guard said, I saw you on the floor there when he was brought in the washroom. She kept denying it. And then the first thing she went over to do was to wash her hands at the basin. And then he's saying, well, you've got to get out of here because I want to make sure you're out safely, is what he was trying to tell the woman, so that other women can get into the washroom. And of course, by that time, his male partner showed up, and the male partner was standing there and making sure that other women were not coming into the washroom. And I knew that at that point, I had stepped back. I had done what I knew was correct, make sure that the washroom was free so the male security guard could do what he had to do. And at the same time, realizing that this female who was lying on the floor, the way she was reacting and the denial in that, and she was getting really uppity at him, and she just wanted to get into his face. I could see that while she was trying to wash her hands and make every excuse in the book to stay in the washroom. So I made sure that the male guard was secured in that respect, so he had a witness, so she couldn't make any allegations. If he'd been alone in the washroom, there could have been allegations flying. So what I'm telling people today is you definitely need to be aware of your surroundings. Like, this turned out in some ways it was kind of comical about this woman with the headphones, but it really stresses the idea that if something had seriously been going on in the washroom, she might have been caught on the toilet. They might have, emergency services might have had come in thinking she was in distress, and she would have been caught sitting on the toilet at the same time. So it really does pay, especially today in today's world. You really need to be aware of your surroundings. So I just thought I'd brief you up on something that can happen so easily. It could have been worse. Thankfully, it wasn't. It was settled. But I'm just going to leave it there for today. And everybody needs to really think about what they're doing in today's world. So take care. Be safe. Watch your surroundings. And we'll talk again soon. And have a great summer. Bye-bye. Take care.